Okay, let's get started. Hello, everyone. This is David Mitchell, and welcome to the Approach Night podcast. This is episode number 2, presented by Social Reset. I am here with David, another David. He prefers Dave because he's much cooler than I am. And Big D, as I just can't call him D anymore. Big D is just...
That's my nickname.
Yeah, that's his nickname because he's 7 feet tall. Nice. And I figured Big D is much better than the Jolly Green Giant. Yeah. So, which is already taken. Yeah. So how are you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good, all things considered.
Doing good.
Yeah?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Did some cardio, so I'm a little right now.
You're a little kaput.
Yeah.
A little down.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's make it. Oh, sorry. You have a really bad ankle sprain?
Yeah. So I was a little housebound the last couple of days.
Oh, man.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it's not been too bad.
Did you trip over a chair? What happened?
I was working out and
nice.
I rolled my ankle.
You were working out in your apartment?
Yeah. No, I was at a gym.
Oh, at a gym, and you rolled your ankle, and you've been housebound since then.
I was able to walk around today, so it was progress.
Sweet.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, good. We'll take care of that ankle. Ice and heat, ice and heat.
Ice, I think.
Yeah, already in motion, already in progress.
So, for those of you who are not familiar with the podcast, this is a little social experiment that we're running here. I'm taking 2 guys who have very little experience with Approach, and we're going to take these guys out on a weekly basis, and we're going to use this podcast to document exactly what their progress is as they learn to approach women in the most hostile of environments that we can possibly think of.
Oh, God.
Yes. You guys thought it was going to be
blazing.
You thought it was going to be easy.
Yeah,
I was just getting warmed up.
You can succeed here. You can succeed anywhere.
Yeah, in the Bay Area?
Yeah.
That is very true. I have done, I used to be a pickup guy, and I've done pickup in a lot of places. And I would say that the Bay Area is quite possibly the most difficult area to approach women. And I'm not sure why. So far, the East Coast is much, much better than the West Coast.
Maybe more feminism here, maybe? That's a possibility.
You think? They poo-poo pickup?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know if you've ever looked at blogs and stuff like that, but they even got classes. They even got classes on Udemy for how to spot a pickup artist.
Really?
Yeah.
Are there pictures of me there?
Yeah, there is. You didn't know? God,
public enemy number 1.
Yeah, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I want to stay employed. I'm sorry, I gotta eat, boys.
Okay.
I'd love to be in solidarity with you on this one, but
no, you're not going to join the pickup community.
I mean, pickup, yeah, but I can't play
not the
shoulders.
Oh, okay. You don't want to be right beside me as the poster child for what's wrong with masculinity in the world.
We can just black out your face. How about that?
Okay. We're blurring. We'll blur everyone except me because I got it coming for sure. And so for those of you listening to this podcast, I am actually a former pickup guy. I practiced pickup for many, many years, and it worked to a degree. There's a certain a certain wall that you hit when it gets to pickup. I think that Neil Strauss documented it very well in The Game. I remember reading The Game for the first time because I didn't read it until years later because it was like, oh, it's another pickup book. Who cares? But then I did read it and I was like, wow, this is very similar to what happened to me. And Yeah, it's very true that I found the same things that he found, which was that, pickup works for a certain segment of the female population, but it doesn't work for the segments that I'm particularly interested in. So that's when I decided to stop doing pickup and move on to more social intelligence and social value type stuff, and really went deep into inner game. And I would say that now I'm able to date the women that I really want to date, whereas I couldn't do this before. And I actually do have pickup friends who ask me what my tricks are. What routine am I using to pick up these types of women? And I'm like, well, it's not routines anymore. I'm not going there. This is completely different. And so this is what we're teaching in this in my classes, in my workshops, and on my approach nights. So this is week 2 for you guys. We went out last Saturday.
Yep.
Give me give me a quick check-in, how you feel today and how you felt about last week. Let's start with Dave.
Last week was pretty hard. I'd say for me it's probably the hardest one that I've done so far. I think I've done 3 in total. And the hardest thing was that so I think I told you, both of you guys, this, but I had a date on the previous Friday before I went out that kind of had me rattled. Cute girl, I was into her, got rejected, and took it a lot harder than I thought I would. And so I wasn't in sort of like the right frame of mind to go out. But commitment's a commitment, so I want to go anyway. And so I went out, and at the end of it, actually ended up having like a pretty good time. So yeah, definitely learned a lot of things. Did some approaches, faced some fears, and definitely, I feel pretty good today compared to the beginning of Saturday night.
Yeah, you could definitely tell when you showed up on Saturday that there was something not quite right.
Yeah,
for sure.
There was something definitely off. And when we were doing the warm-up exercises, I kept looking over, and we're all like really getting into it, and starting to do yes and starting to play some of the games, and poor Dave's over there just looking like someone stole his lunch.
Seriously, and then punched him in the gut at the same time.
Yeah, he was not very happy at all. I was a little bit concerned.
Yeah,
I did pull you aside so that we could have some personal coaching.
Yeah,
that's my job.
Yeah, that helped a lot, both for the night and also for the last part of this week. So yeah, thank you.
Good. Yeah, I highly recommend. I kind of wish that when I was going out in the first place, that I had more mentors that could address, when things come up like this. Although I did have some mentors, but they were all pickup guys, and I think their go-to pep talk was just suck it up, man. Just suck it up. It's like, man, I'm feeling shitty. This girl just rejected me, and it's like, oh, just suck it up. Oh, all right.
Sounded like you were a little invested, huh, David? Already?
Yeah. I think
not a little, a lot.
Yeah. I would say like a moderate amount. I mean, it's 2 days later, and I'm not like curled up in a fetal position. So to me, that's what a lot of investment would look like. But I was moderately invested at the point where, like a pretty sound rejection, left me like pretty shaken up for a couple of days.
Yeah, and I think that you told me that during the date that you had with this woman that you thought was going really well.
Yeah, I thought it was going well. There was some banter, there was some touching, there was some playfulness. There was one mention at the beginning of the date about like maybe about, is there chemistry or not? But I felt like it was like a nice back and forth. I had fun. I felt like she was having fun. She was touching me back, she was joking back, and then at the end, it's like, oh, I don't feel like there's chemistry, so no dice. And it's like, okay, well, somewhere fell off the wagon here, so what gives?
Ouch.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
This
at least you're swinging that bat, man.
yeah, but I've been wondering, like, am I swinging for home runs when I should be swinging for singles, doubles, and triples? That's one thing.
What aspect? Like what aspect?
I
Like,
think.
what's the first base? What's the second base? What's the third base?
Oh.
You got to get a little clear. I have something in
Big
mind,
D. Well, Big D.
Yeah.
First base is kissing.
but- well, no, but in his mind, I understand that part. I'm just seeing like where, like, what's his first base? I understand that
Right.
part.
What would be if you were a what do they call that? All around hitter, a batting king?
Yeah.
What would that look like?
Well, if I were a batting king, I mean, my life, I probably wouldn't know. I'd probably have too little spare time to live if I were actually a batting king. I'm still like pretty much a novice, but I meant bases as far as my, I guess what ends up being like my emotional investment. So I need to figure out how I can still be fun, have fun, be authentic, be playful, but at the same time not build any kind of attachment to the people I'm going out with until I have an opportunity to vet them appropriately. Yeah, so I need to figure out what that's going to look like. Maybe it means I don't escalate as quickly. Maybe it means I do, but I, stay relatively cold and guarded until I'm sure. Maybe not cold, but more guarded about like what I reveal about myself. And enforcing some boundaries. Yeah.
More mystery.
Maybe not. I wouldn't necessarily need mystery, but like there are a few opportunities I had during that date to just say like, hey, I don't really know you that well. I don't feel comfortable revealing that type of information. I've been thinking about it over the last few days. And in retrospect, I probably would have been like a smarter tack, just for myself. Yeah. So I'm just thinking about how to recalibrate like that in the future.
Did you feel?
All good things.
Did you feel that you felt like you were investing too quickly in this woman that you were on a date with?
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly? Investing too quickly?
For me, it's more. I guess I don't know per se, but I just know like the feeling, how I feel like after like if like things go south, like after I get rejected. To me, that's like the sign of like my investment. If I feel nothing, then it's like, hey, you weren't that invested at all. If I'm like shaken up, that's some investment. If I'm fetal position, that's a lot of investment. Yeah, there's another girl. I think Dave, you know the story. I was chatting with her like earlier in the year, and we started talking about politics. Shared my views. She didn't take kindly, so I got an email back like a little while later, and I was really shaken up over it. Yeah, so that's like a lot of investment, a lot more that should have happened for like the type of conversations and the amount of time like we've been talking.
Yeah, I highly encourage guys that to not get invested too quickly, because this type of thing happens. It's like you don't want to put your investment in someone that you're unsure if they're going to treat that investment well.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, then they don't really deserve your investment.
Yeah, you're right. And so I'm trying to figure out how that process looks like for me. Right. I know that's what I want to do. I know that's like how I want to structure like how I date. But I haven't really done that before. So I'm still figuring out like what that's going to look like.
Right.
But fortunately, I've got mentors to, I guess, help me figure that out.
Yeah. And I usually measure it by vulnerability. That's
Yeah.
usually how I know if I'm, my level of investment. If I'm starting to show my vulnerability to a woman, start revealing a little bit of my inner self,
Right.
start. I mean, there's different types of vulnerability. I mean, there's there's showing courage, and there's but if I start to reveal a little bit too much of my inner world, then I think that I'm being vulnerable too quickly.
Right.
That's usually a big indicator for me.
Mm.
And if I catch myself doing it, especially during like a first or second date, I will immediately turn it into some kind of a joke or something like that.
Yeah.
But, but thank you for coming out. That's so hard to do. That it's like you were triggered. You could tell that you were triggered. It was you could almost tell like you didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And yet, you came out, and that's wow. That is really that shows a level of commitment, which most people don't have.
Yeah. One of my bosses told me a while ago, it was a very nice compliment, but he's like, Dave, you're one of those few people, when you say you're going to do something, you actually do it. And I'm in. So
yeah,
if I say I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out.
Yeah, that's called integrity. I'm glad you have it.
Yeah, me too.
So, okay, well, good check-in. So, Big D,
what's up?
How have you been doing since last Saturday, which was a completely different experience for you?
Yeah, you were.
From the first time, I was the one that was triggered. Last time, anxiety was like super high the first time. We went out to San Francisco, and it took me like hours to get out of it. But then this time, I think it was like way different in a sense. Like I was in a way better mindset, and I felt a lot more comfortable. Of course, I had that a little bit of anxiety, but then once we went through like, going through the warm ups, and doing all the games that we play and all that, and doing like the loosey goosey stuff when we were out in the on the dance floor, like getting loose and walking around and saying hi to everybody, I felt a lot better. I didn't feel like I felt, of course, a little nervous, but I felt a lot better. And I was, I don't even know how many people I said hello to, probably like 10 to 20 people. And I had probably between, 5 to 10 conversations with, men and women or groups, It was like crazy that night for me. I had a really good experience, and like my mindset's like, well, like I can't wait till the next one to see how much more improvement, or like you say, I might take a step back, but as long as I'm going forward, I'm happy with that. Like this is this is one of my top priorities right now, and I was really happy. Like after I left, I haven't really like sat down and thought about it, like sitting on what happened on Saturday night. But the thoughts that I have come across, like I'm pretty happy with what I did. Of course you can have regrets, but I'm just going to focus on the positive aspect of what happened. Like we did go talk, we bantered. We learned a lot in the sense of when we were talking to women, like we kind of stalled out on the conversation, and I'm like, We learned about energy, like. Because we were burnt out by like, I don't know, I was burnt out by like 11:30. I was like, holy crap, I feel like I ran like 5 miles. There's like no energy left. I'm like, holy crap.
You also, you mentioned this while we were out. You said that you started getting into state much earlier in the day.
From, like over a year ago when we had that class in Mountain View, you went over like a whole bunch of things that we should do. So I did, I did my meditation. I did visualization also. Like I would visualize talking to. There's 4 different. There's mixed. There's Latino girls, white girls, Asian, and then there's African American. And I would visualize like 10 to 20 people in that group, and I would approach. Not coming in mind. I would do that for like 15 minutes. In my head. It's just like a free throw. You practice free throwing, in your head. It's basically the same concept as actually, doing it, when you visualize. So that helps for me. And I danced for probably 5 to 6 minutes before I left to go to Fremont, so that helped also. What else did I do? Oh, and I was doing Yes and, but like I told you, I was doing like a hip hop type of Yes and because there was a hip hop music going on. So I did that too. Yeah, that's what I did. That takes probably, I don't know, half an hour to 45 minutes to just go through that process. And of course, you guys too. Like it helps a lot to have people there to encourage us.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Did you approach any people while you were doing your warm-ups?
You mean over in Fremont, over at the Saddle Rack, or beforehand?
Beforehand.
No, I didn't. I didn't do that part. I didn't go that end. No, the warm up was there just to get like kind of my mindset. That was the main focus for me when I do that those warm ups.
Right.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I think you did a great job because when you showed up, you could clearly tell that you were in a much different state of mind.
Yeah, I was pretty. I had major anxiety the first time we went out. Holy mackerel!
Yeah, it was night and day. You were very triggered when we first went out. The second time, you were ready to go.
Yeah,
it was almost like a reversal. You know, the first time Dave was ready to go.
Yeah,
you were triggered, and then this time you were ready to go.
All right.
And Dave was a little bit triggered.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed it. I did kind of think about like what you were telling us. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to bring a notebook with me. I'm not going to be able to remember it all.
That would have been a little awkward.
I don't give a fuck who tells me if it is a little awkward or not. Shit.
And so the venue was different than when we were up in San Francisco. This is a country bar, a rather large country bar, and I like the place because there's a lot of friendly people at that bar. It's a much easier venue than some of the bars in San Francisco, which can kind of be really triggering.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big
a lot of attractive women over in
a lot, right? We were doing our warm-up exercises. Oh, those three women that were sitting over there when we were doing our. Oh man! Wow!
Holy Jesus!
Like, could you?
I know you moved. I'm like, oh, thanks. I get a view. So my back was facing them. Like I saw them, cornered my eye.
Yeah, that was so that I could see them. I had all you guys facing me.
Face the
backs
wall.
to them.
Face the
so
wall.
That I could see them.
Face the wall. You get the wall art.
Now I see how it is.
I remember. I was like, David, you want to approach her? And he looks up. She was like a foot taller than you, wasn't she, David? The one girl by the stairs. You remember?
Yeah.
So you want to approach her? He's like, dude, no way. She's too fucking tall. I'm like, oh, no.
I've dated women that were taller than me.
She was like a foot taller. That would be, if there was a girl a foot taller than me, that would be kind of intimidating for me too, though. Actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but she would be like 7 or 8 feet tall. So that'd be hard.
She'd be rubbing her head against the ceiling.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, it was a good venue. There was it was a little bit louder for sure, and it was indoor. But there was a lot of activity going on. And so it was a much different venue. I was coaching solo this time. We had another group member show up with us, and I honestly think that without any assistant coaches, that I think it's best if we keep the group small, because I found that even with 3 people, that was 3 different people that I had to manage. That night, and I found that, and all 3 people have different needs. So I was kind of like changing states between 3 different people.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, you did a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. That's what I'm there for, and I'm just there to serve you guys. And you guys did a great job. And there were some struggles, I think all around. But Big D, you were approaching pretty much everyone that I was pointing out to.
Yeah,
that
pretty
night.
much. Well, you got to remember, like what I found out because I'm super competitive, and I never really thought about it, but like I see it as a challenge to me when someone says, "Hey, go do that," or like you say, "You can't do that." I'm like, something in me just says, "You know what? Fuck you. I'm gonna go do it." That's what pretty much my mentality is.
Okay, that's good to know.
Oh, I shouldn't have told you that. God, son of. Okay, can you rewind that, delete, and erase that from your mind too? Yeah, I think that's just. I think that's my personality.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So historically, I've been the same way. I mean, like super, 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 super competitive, to the point where it's like unhealthy. And what I'm trying to do with learning approach and game is to get a sustainable pace. I don't want to go so fast where I'm just going to like burn myself out because I think I have to like compete with somebody. Like the only person I am really competing with is myself. And yeah, uh, yeah. So I had fun. I think I like once I sort of started like getting over the anxiety I was having. I definitely like had some cool approaches. Um, but I didn't do as many as I did say the last two times we were out, and I think that was fine.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, and this is very important. I'm glad that you said something about pacing yourself, because I wanted to talk about energy during this podcast, because that was an issue on Saturday. There were questions about how do I keep the energy up? How do I keep the energy going? And we had a conversation about pacing yourself. And the other guy that showed up with us was just like right away, it just had too much energy. He was expelling it very quickly, and he even came up and spoke to me later on and said that he was completely exhausted, and it wasn't even halfway through the night, because he had so much energy that it just burned him out so quickly. And you guys also, I think that you did better for sure, but you definitely petered out before the very end. I would say that
Yeah.
that we should have kept going for until like midnight or so, and you guys were petered out at like 11.
Yeah.
That's when the energy seemed to be draining out of you guys. Was it just that you had to maintain a certain energy level when talking to everyone?
For me, it wasn't necessarily that. I felt like part of my energy was like being like expelled, just like dealing with like the anxiety I was having. That by the time like it got to like 11 o'clock, there was the energy of like overcome the anxiety of like like the stuff that was in my head before the approach night. Then there's like the actual anxiety of the approach, and then there's like the conversation, and then it's like, okay, well, whatever happened, either they can keep the conversation going and they like pushed you out, or it kept going and you have to like sustain it. And I felt that, plus I was already feeling like, not to quote our president, but I was already feeling like low energy to begin with. So I think the culmination of all those things, that by like 11:15, I was starting to feel like the same feeling at the end of my first approach night, where my nerves were saying like, you know what, David, like we've had enough fun. And so I chose to listen to them and sat myself down.
Right. And Big D?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same spot. I think like I was noticing, okay, time to approach, and I just felt my energy. I'm like, holy mackerel, I'm exhausted. Because
Yeah.
we were walking around, approaching, talking to people, and then also like I'm kind of on the same page as David. Like if we would approach, that takes energy, and then
Yeah.
like when we would say hi, you don't just say hi, you say it with some enthusiasm, get that energy up a little bit. But I think what
Right.
I was doing wrong was I would try to keep that energy high at that part. And like you were telling us, it's better to just kind of like I can't remember if you say you can initially say hi, with enthusiasm or have high energy, but then kind of gradually kind of lower it and then
you had
hook them. Yeah,
you had
hook them.
so many good pieces of advice. I'm trying to remember like some of my favorites. So one, I'm not sure if I'm going to be. Actually, no, I'm going to have to try this. But if it's loud, you don't have to scream. You can just like start talking directly into her ear.
Yeah. Our compatriot lost his voice because he was yelling the entire night because it was a little bit noisy in the bar.
Yeah.
And I told, and he said, he asked me, how do you deal with that? And I said, well, you just lean in closer and talk into their ear. That way you're not yelling, and it makes them it makes them lean a little closer to you.
Give an excuse to touch too.
Yeah, that's very true. You get closer, you can touch a little more as well.
Mm-hmm. Shoulder, or,
Yeah, I noticed.
Grabbing, just like, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I noticed that was one of the things, and this is all a process. We are at the very beginning of this process. We are learning just basic approach right now, which is, getting over that anxiety of approaching people. That's particularly what we need to learn first.
Yeah.
Once you you guys are starting conversations, and that's really good. And you probably feel like it's incumbent on you a little bit to keep the conversation going. And that's where the energy comes from. You're expending a lot of energy when you're trying to keep the conversation going. And so, one of the pieces of advice that I had you was that we're not trying to entertain them. We're not trying to keep that conversation going and going and going and going. And it's kind of good when you have energy, when you have that energy and you can just spout off things all night long. That's good in certain circumstances. But the idea here is we're trying to hook them. We're trying to get them involved in the conversation, get them talking, because you find that, some of the best interactions I've had, I've barely said anything at all. I just got them talking. I found out the thing that was the thing that they wanted to talk about, and then they kept going.
Yeah. No, I had an interaction like that on Friday night. This is kind of weird. So it was the ride home from like my terrible date. I was in a Lyft, and I shared it with like this young lady, and it's like, well, I'm out here to work on this stuff, so I might as well try to like strike up a conversation. And, eventually we actually started talking about, some like really interesting stuff. Turned out she was from, like, I spent a lot of time down in LA. She was down in LA, like, oh, wish you like more. Our views are like polar opposite. Why is that? And then she started telling me like her life story about how she was initially from the Midwest, moved out to LA, wasn't ready for the superficial nature of the people who live there, et cetera, et cetera. And it felt very natural and very organic. And it was I don't know. Now that I'm like reminiscing, I was like, wow, that was a really nice conversation I had. Actually appreciate it. Yeah. But that's kind of like, I get what you're saying about energy, because that cost like no energy at all. It was very natural. And for some reason in that setting, it was easy for me to have that. But Saturday night, it was a little more difficult to try to be able to like get it flowing organically, without having to like expend too much effort.
Yeah, that's what we'll get there. We're definitely going to get there to where we're working on that, creating hooks, creating conversational pieces, getting people involved in the conversation and getting them to come more to you.
Yeah.
That is an important skill to learn. And right now we're just learning that approach part. Big D, did you feel like you were expending a lot of energy trying to keep conversations going?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the anxiety level would go up a little bit. Like I just kind of go blank. I'm like, oh, okay. I did have a good I was giving the girl a hard time when she gave me a really, a hard handshake. I'm like, God damn, girl. I was giving her a hard time about that.
Yeah.
That lasted a little bit, but yeah, no, for sure. It does expel a lot of energy when you're, trying to think of things to say and you feel uncomfortable at the same time. So, that kind of stuff just drains you big time.
Yeah. And you guys brought up something. I remember when I was talking to you and you both brought this up, and it was the initially you asked me the question, which was, you kind of felt like that energy start to wane a little bit. Like
Yeah.
you would have that you would start the conversation with one or two women, and you would start off with high energy, but you would feel like it was just like it was too hard to maintain, and then things started to wane a little bit, and the conversation started to ebb,
Well,
and then
it
they
would turn-
seemed to be losing interest at that point.
Yeah. At that
Correct.
point, it would turn into like, okay, now leave us alone.
Pretty much.
Was that the feeling that you got?
Oh yeah, I think that
Oh, for
happened
sure.
like 2 or 3 times. One of them was like a longer conversation, and then 2 of them they were like, "Hey, we approached," and it was like less than a minute, and I could feel like their energy was like, "Leave us alone."
Right. So there was
Yeah.
a lack of engagement there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of the same page. I did have a good conversation with Jen. I was talking to her for like 20 minutes, the girl by herself in the back. I was talking to her, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of tired of talking to you. So I left. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to get going. But you better be out there on the dance floor. I'll come back if you don't, something like that. That was the good part for me. That was one good conversation.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that was cool.
So which I remember. Let me see. There were a lot of approaches. You guys did a lot of approaches that night. I was really super proud of you.
Mm.
And you were also you were winging each other.
yeah,
I think
Yeah.
for the first time. And I'm not sure if you
Mhm.
the second time.
yeah.
So-
Second time, yeah.
So did you? Was this? Were you switching? Were you taking turns winging each other, or were you just one person was the approach and the other person was winging the entire time?
No,
We would
we
switch.
switched.
Yeah.
yeah.
So who did the?
I think
initial
David
approach?
did a little more than I did, but yeah, we would switch.
Yeah, and so let's talk about that experience a little bit because winging is kind of an art form in itself. You know,
Yeah.
the purpose of the wingman is to support the front guy, the head guy, and at the same time, if he's what they call in the pickup world targeting a certain woman, then the wingman is supposed to occupy the other women.
Yeah.
What was your experience when as a wingman?
My experience was, so this night, well, I would say like I've had 2 different experiences because I've winged a little bit on the previous night, and I winged for D. Oh, sorry. I winged for D, this night, and well, previous time it was hard to like insert myself in the conversation. This time I felt like I might have taken over too much, right? Which isn't really helpful. And so when I noticed I was doing that, I like dial it back, but sometimes it took me a little longer to notice.
Okay, how was it different than approaching a woman?
Solo? It was I felt a little more, I guess, like, I don't want to say secure, but like the anxiety was a little lower because I knew I'd have backup coming. So if I was going to have trouble like maintaining the energy or keeping the conversation going, I was going to have help. So that was nice.
Yeah, that feels good, huh? Just
Yeah.
knowing that you're not alone, and
Yeah.
that, and a wingman's great for that. He can bring in, he can change the entire energy of the whole situation. Big D.
Yeah, kind of on the same page. Like I don't like some once in a while ideas like I noticed I like took all the energy away. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. Like when we approached those 3 young girls, the Caucasian girls, the really cute ones, like I took a lot of energy away right when I approached it. I could tell. I was like, oops. So I just kept on trying to talk. I'm like, what did I say? I said, is he telling that bad joke? Can't remember what, something like that. That really bad joke. I think I said, and I got them all laughing.
Yeah.
That was the main thing. Got them
Yeah,
all laughing.
that's a good approach for sure.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, when
and
you
I-
bring in too much energy and you steal like the thunder,
Yeah.
that's called swooping.
I didn't mean
Yeah.
to do that, but
A little
I'm
bit.
God damn it.
It's
I was
okay.
doing it on purpose. I'm just playing.
It's okay. It's like I said, it's an art form.
Yeah,
just
it is.
you have to come in. You have a lot of responsibility. I mean, I used to hate winging, at first, but then as I learned it more and more and I became good at it, then I kind of saw the art form of it, and it was like, oh, okay. So, it's like you're the guy that comes in and you change the energy, you plus the people that are all there, and you really shine the spotlight, on the main guy. That's the idea, is just to somehow find a way to, and that was a great way of doing it. Coming as like, is he telling that bad joke again?
Yeah.
That was a good one. Yeah, I like that one. And so one of the things I did not, I learned, like I said, from the pickup world. And in the pickup world, they have a lot of like pre-thought out or, pre-canned routines that they come up with.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't necessarily, poo-poo the pickup world, because I saw the value of that, of having like routines that you could use, because it was a good way to model, like what you needed to do, how you create a hook, how you create engagement. So, I learned how to use those. And once you learn them after a while, you don't necessarily need to continue using them once you kind of figure out like, oh, okay, I'm looking for a hook. And when I find that hook, then, I've got them engaged in the conversation. But I even thought of that, when we were there at the Saddle Rack, was, maybe I should come up with some canned routines for you guys. How would you feel about that?
I
think that'd be good.
Yeah,
Sure.
open to try anything.
Yeah. So did you find that when you were approaching that you were kind of struggling to think of things to say?
For the very initial approach, yeah. Yes. That happens not infrequently. Yeah.
Yeah. You feel like you like what is it, anxiety, or is it more, just like, well, what do I say? Is it a combination of both things?
All the above. Yeah. And then like so it's that, and then also like once a conversation like gets going, I mean, I have obviously it's like tons of stuff to talk about, right? Like you just met the person, like, hey, where are you all from? You celebrating anything? Who are you like, that kind of stuff. And that is interesting. But in a way that's kind of like its own version of canned too.
Yeah.
And I don't really have, at least in these settings, I don't really have ways to, I guess, gear the conversations towards things that have more hooks.
Yeah. So it's just basically like a lack of experience then, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I get that. Big D, you're running around all over the place here.
Sorry about that.
You got laundry?
No, I had to go to the bathroom, dude. I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to hold it until you freaking end this. I got to take this.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, we were talking about having things to say, and we're just in the initial approach phase right here.
Yeah.
So I haven't taught you guys a lot about conversation. We're just focused more on approach, and I also want you guys to start feeling energy at this point. So Big D, did you struggle finding things to talk about when you were approaching people?
I think I was getting a little better, like with the girl with the handshake, like the girl that was by herself. I'm like, why are you by yourself? Blah blah blah. Or there was like 3 guys. I'm like, dude, you guys are matching. They all had like flannel shirts. Like sometimes it was there, but sometimes wasn't. But then like after that point, like keep the conversation going, kind of thing was like improv. Just kind of like remembering, like not remembering, just like whatever's coming to mind. It was just kind of like roll a blank for sure. But like you always tell us, it's a skill that we need to practice, and the more we do it, the more I think we'll get better.
Right.
And like having some, maybe like some backups, like in a sense of maybe some preset things that we can use would probably be wise, I think.
Right.
It's not being original, but it's better than just going blank. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that for sure would be. I think for sure that'd be way better.
Yeah, and eventually, I mean, I can do that to where I can give you guys some things to kind of come up, or I mean, to show you how it works. And I would hope that the idea would be that eventually you'll create your own.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you'll find things that you can fall back on, like, okay, I'm not having the greatest of nights, so this has worked for me in the past, so I'm just going to use it just to get things going. Okay, so I thought that, like I said, I thought it was a good night. I thought that we had a lot of good approaches. It was a much more concentrated area, so it was a lot easier to approach a large group of people. Did you guys find that you were approaching the same people over and over again, or did you always have someone fresh to talk to?
There was almost always someone fresh.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd see certain people I'd approach like throughout the night, and so
there's just swing back around.
I would interact briefly, like say hi, wave. There's like 3 girls I took a picture for, and they were like really happy and grateful. And so, like, I saw them on later during the night, and they're like, "Oh my God, there's that guy who like took the picture," and that was nice, right? So I interacted a little bit there. Mm-hmm. There's like a couple bodybuilders that like we had met earlier, and then like there's that seat where people like sat down and like they like poured shots down your throat.
It was the shot chair,
the shot chair. And so again, this is like the 3rd time I went out where like people offered to buy me drinks, right? It's like, oh, you got to do a shot. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Well, if they would have paid for it, you could have done it.
No, I think they did offer to pay. I just wasn't in the mood to drink.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I think that crew had like this like short girl with like short purple hair. Yeah, she was looking good.
She was kind of cute.
She was kind of cute.
So did you approach women that you were attracted to, or did you just approach anyone?
I was approaching everyone, but I did get to approach some women where it's like, well, so we approached some women where it's like, oh my God, like, yes, you're smoking hot. That being
talking about the three.
Yeah, so like those three girls, absolutely.
The 3 that were sitting at the table that I told you guys to go.
Yeah. Those three were like, I mean, they were all. I mean, I'd have to.
I love their energy, man. Holy mackerel! I love it.
But
how was that different approaching 3 very attractive women? Were you guys very anxious, more anxious than approaching other people?
Oh yeah, the anxiety was higher. Yeah.
Well, it was easier for me because I was winging. I'm like, well, he's doing the hard part. I just wing.
Oh,
I was like,
fuck you, Big G.
No, seriously, you're doing the hard part. That's the hard part, dude. I'm like, I'm just gonna wing. I don't care. I'm just gonna bounce off of you. That's the easy part.
Yeah. Well,
seriously.
My opener bombed, and
yeah, I saw you drowning. I'm like, okay, time to jump in.
Yeah.
I can see
honestly, like, yeah, I don't.
What was your opener?
I think so. The one I told you about, like, oh, you're not allowed to have alcohol here, right? I think I tried using that one, and that I got some last like earlier in the evening, but these girls were like, we're not having it.
Yeah, they weren't having it. Oh boy, they were probably kind of like, yeah, we've heard that before.
Yeah, probably.
And that's just a one-liner. That I don't encourage one-liners because it's kind of like it leaves it up to you to keep it going. I prefer, like, if you're gonna do any kind of pre-canned material, it's like make it at least a routine, something with follow-ups, and where you can lead them down a certain path of to generate conversation.
Yeah.
No. So those 3, you definitely were triggered, and to make it even worse, your opener didn't work very well.
Nope.
Were you already praying for Big D to come in?
I was hoping for some help, but I also think my investment in that approach was like pretty low. So if they were to say like, fuck off little boy, like, don't talk to us, I would have been like, well, fuck you too then. Okay, well, not fuck you too, but I wouldn't have cared that much.
No, stick with that original thought. I think that's better.
Oh,
Stick with that thought. Better.
Well, this was another thing that you guys had asked me about
Yeah.
during the night was
yeah,
receptive. You know,
yeah.
what do you do when they're receptive? What do you do when they're not receptive?
So my
Oh, yeah,
plan. I mean, so what I took away from last night is that if they're not receptive, you can either go find people who are receptive, or there are some, in case of non-receptiveness, break open glass types of tricks that you can do, but they're pretty advanced.
They are. It's usually you give them shit.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I learned, and so kind of feel it out. If people aren't receptive and they don't want to talk to you, I mean, and that's a rejection, but that's also fine. But as you go on, like you have tools to make them more receptive.
Yeah.
That you can learn.
Did you feel? Did you feel that you were getting more and more comfortable as the night went on, Big D?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, it was like kind of like I don't give a fuck kind of attitude.
Yeah. Did you find that like the more you were doing it, the less fucks you gave?
Pretty much. Yeah, like one girl said, like I said hi, and she said hi, and it's like, so how's it going? She just walked around, okay, whatever. And I just kept on going. I didn't even pass the second thought. And she was pretty cute. She was like almost my height. She was like 6'1", with heels, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was pretty cute. I'm like, oh well, no big deal. That's her
Right.
fault. It's her loss, pretty much. That was my thinking at that time. And then I was like, okay,
But-
I just kept on going.
But Dave, I mean, I come around 11 or so when the energy was going down.
Yeah.
You pretty much told me that you were triggered pretty much at that point. You'd had enough emotionally.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really feel them necessarily getting easier. And I think there's like one point where we were like walking around, and then like Big D like said like, hey, you want to like go some more? And I just felt like that like shock that I felt the first time I went out at like the very end of the evening, where it's like my nerves are like fried. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've also felt that way when I went on like one roller coaster too many. Exact same feeling. But yeah, so it didn't really feel like it was getting. Each one was like necessarily getting easier.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and there'll be nights like that. There'll be nights where you just, things get easier, you care less and less, you start getting into flow. And then there'll be nights where it just, it'll take its emotional toll on you. And I think a lot of that has to do with the state of mind you show up in.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So if you show up in that, I think here we have a really good case study of what happens when you show up slightly triggered and what happens when you show up, in state. And it's a completely different experience. But also what I really enjoyed was that, you two banded together, and you supported each other. How did that feel?
That felt good. Yeah.
Second that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Even after we were done, I think like we sat around like the parking lot for like 20 minutes and just like chilled, talked over like what happened, the different approaches, what we're both feeling before we went home. So I think that was like good.
Yeah, we talked like 20, 30 minutes, I think, after.
Yeah.
So Big D, what was tell me about that conversation, because I wasn't there for that.
So let's see. We talked about we talked about multiple different things. We talked about like work, like I wanted to go in the medical field myself, but my brain wasn't freaking.
Oh, wait, you weren't talking. Then you weren't talking about the approach night. Then?
No,
we were.
We did. No, we did. It was like, hey, we did great, and the energy level, like our energy level, just like petered out at like 11:30. We didn't like delve into detail about it though, but we talked about those three Caucasian girls.
Yeah.
That was like, we said that multiple times.
Yeah.
And that one girl in, what was it, blue? She was like 6 feet tall or something.
Yeah.
That was another one we were talking about.
Yeah. And I also noticed something at the end of the night too that was a little bit different. than previous. You guys were anxious to like learn more. You know,
for sure.
Yeah.
it's kind of like you had it's almost like, okay, we got this approach thing now. How do I make it work? Like what's the next step?
Yeah, so so for myself, like I definitely like I probably have like months before like I'm not gonna feel like as much approach anxiety as I do now. But as I'm doing it, like you get stuck in situations that, it's like, I need help. And it was a desire like that happened like probably like 3 or 4 times. And I think some of those like feel like just as shitty as like the actual like anxiety of the approach. And so it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to get myself in this situation, can I get like a life vest or or something to like help out, like if I'm gonna end up there. So I don't want to. Like I said earlier, I don't want to go too fast.
You know what? If you put on a life vest right in the middle of like the club, you would probably like that would be a great peacock right there.
Don't forget to inflate it. Pull the thing.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
No, just have the old school big orange one.
Yeah.
Because you would probably not have any problems at all getting conversations going. Wearing a life vest.
Just picturing you, David,
at a club.
would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Let's do it. That's gonna be your new game.
My new game, life vest game.
Yeah.
Can you save me?
About all the lives I saved. Ask me for CPR.
Can I practice CPR on you? Knock them off. Great.
So I think you guys are doing great. This is the second official approach night that we've done here. And how do you let's wrap up before we talk about what we're going to be doing next here. Just kind of tell me, how are you guys feeling, after your second approach night? Do you feel like you're gaining some more confidence? Do you feel like you're learning more, like you're progressing? How do you feel?
Man. For me, for sure. Like even on Sunday, I was saying hi, and I had this conversation with this guy at the grocery store. I think he might have think I was hitting on him when he was married from Oregon. But that was weird, but that's okay. That was, for me, it was pretty good. I'm pretty happy, and I'm saying hi a lot more with people at work and stuff like that. And being playful, giving people a hard time at work. Of course, not going beyond that line. It's kind of hard to filter that out. Like I think my personality is a little more demented, so I got to not pass that line. So, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
Sure. Yeah, I gotta agree. You're total deviant for sure.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate.
It's gonna work for you. It's gonna work for you well one day.
It's gonna work well one day.
Yep, it's gonna be your routine.
Nice. That's what I like.
Dave?
Yeah. I'm a pretty harsh like self-critic. So I probably am making like progress. I am, but at the same time, like a lot of the stuff that we're doing is like, like difficult in the sense like it pushes like a lot of triggers. And so like the things that I'm learning that like I have like been able to like put in practice, those are kind of been like washed out by like the massive amounts of button pushing that have happened over the last like couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. This is also something we talked about a little bit last night, because it's not always going to be, step forward, step forward, step forward. Many times it's going to be, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah, I thought we were going to be popping bottles by now. Come on.
After the second approach night, where are my women at?
I should be fucking married by now, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. But
actually, I think it's good that you guys are anxious. Like okay, I think you're starting to see the possibilities.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
I'm sorry, David. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're right. Okay. It's like, wow, like the ability to like walk into a room like that and just be like, of these like 10 women, like I want to get like 3 phone numbers, and having that even like be an option. Yeah.
3 out of 10?
I was being generous.
Really?
I mean, like 5,
9.
5, 7,
9, man.
9 out of 10.
9 would be
11 out of 10.
At least.
Yeah, at least.
Get 2 numbers from one girl.
Yeah.
Shoot for the moon, man. Shoot for the moon.
Right on. So yeah, I'm very proud of you guys for doing this, and I very much appreciate that. That you're sticking with this and you're going through it, and you're willing to tell everyone out there what your experiences are, because this is not easy. If it was easy, then everyone would do it, and I wouldn't have a job. So we have set up our next approach day. We are going to be going out during the daytime next week. This is commonly known as day game. And another thing that I also mentioned this a little bit last time with you guys is that I am a firm believer that you need to practice rejection. This is something that they do in the sales world, which is very similar to what we're doing, is that they'll go out and they'll practice getting rejected just so they get used to it. They learn that a rejection is not a value judgment at all. It's just basically, they're just not in the same place that you're in. And if you're giving them your gift and they don't want to accept it, well, that's not your problem. That's their problem. So next week, we are going to do a day game, and we're going to practice rejection, which is, to me, always fun, because we do get to play a lot of games during a rejection day. So anything you guys want to mention before we wrap this up? No, you've already moved on. You're already surfing. You're already surfing for porn. Looks like, yeah. Okay.
Porn.
It's. I'm hearing keyboard. I'm hearing keyboard stroking.
So I don't hear any other different noises. That's okay.
Yeah. No, not really. I had it was a difficult night, but it was also a fun night. I learned a lot about game. I learned a lot about myself, and I gained a lot of practical tools. And I think the one thing that I'm going to try to take away is that, you don't have to be the absolute best at everything, and sometimes it's okay to go slow. Slow and steady can still win this race.
Mm-hmm.
I'll call you Turtle Man from now on.
Oh,
That's your nickname.
Turtle Man.
Dave
Slow
the
and
Tortoise.
steady. Slow and steady. Hey, that's a compliment.
And you, Big D?
I'm really happy with going through this process, to be honest with you. Because, I'm pretty stubborn, so I'm the type of person that I'm just going to keep going forward for sure. Even if I go back, I'm still going to keep going. I've been making it every day I go out or at work, I try to say hi, start a conversation with people now.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will spill over into your real world for sure.
I do that too. I did that this morning. Actually, no, this afternoon, I was walking to go get lunch. There was some lady at the sidewalk. I looked at her and said, hey, how's your day going? And it was cool. Got a little weird vibe, hey, why is this strange dude at the sidewalk talking to me? But it's well, gotta talk to somebody, lady.
Yeah.
Oh, serious. You were there.
Happy to be here.
Right on. Okay. All right. So we will meet on Sunday to do this again, and we will continue our path towards becoming badasses. And so this is David Mitchell along with Dave and Big D, and we will talk to you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.